Story 1. How do people stay up later than that? That is my question. My body puts me out of commission at 10 o'clock in the evening without fail. Story 2. I cannot comment with complete certainty, but I have found getting to sleep much easier since starting to exercise regularly. Could also be due to aging, but it might be worth a try if you have not already, along with all the other benefits. Story 3. The real answer is physical fatigue. Seriously, take up running, lifting, or sports. When your body is physically tired, it cannot help but try to fall asleep. Story 4. Wake up at 5 in the morning, exercise, study or work, eat healthily, and make sure to drink water. From 9 p.m., avoid all mobile devices or television, read a book, and within 2 days you will have readjusted. Story 5. Wake up early. Go for a run before or after work. You will be tired enough to go to bed. Also, eat dinner by 8 o'clock. Story 6. Well, I would lose my job if I do not wake up at 4:30, and if I lose my job, I will probably end up on the streets. So that is a big motivator. Story 7. I typically sleep before 11 when I take my sleeping pill. Otherwise, I will be up all night. Am I reliant on the pill? Yes, as I have always had trouble sleeping since I was a teenager. No, melatonin does not help. Story 8. If you are not struggling with a clinical sleep issue, 1. Wake up early. 2. Get tired throughout the day. 3. Repeat. Story 9. I had a full-time job for which I used to wake up at 7 a.m. I never took naps during the day or in the evening. Hence, I was always very tired and sleepy by 10 p.m. Story 10. Wake up at 4:30 and work a physical job in the heat all day. Repeat every day. Sometimes I go down at 8:30. Story 11. Having to wake up at 6:30 in the morning does that to a person. Even if I do not have to wake up that early, my body just kind of throws me out of sleep at around 6:40. Story 12. Switch off at night by 8:30 to 9 p.m. and get up in Brahma Muhurta from 3:30 to 4:30 a.m. This is a spiritual discipline. Story 13. Turn off all the lights, get into comfortable clothing, and put away your phone. Many people lie in bed scrolling and then wonder why they are not tired enough to sleep yet. Blue light is a real phenomenon. Story 14. I just do. Waking up at 5:40 makes me tired enough to fall asleep around 9:30. I can stay up until 11 o'clock watching series or something, but after that, I need to sleep more. Story 15. I wake up at 8 o'clock because of school. I do not drink coffee because it is gross. I go on walks with my grandmother every day. Then, I play a song or audiobook while I sleep. Story 16. Really, 11 p.m. is not early. If you are getting up at 6 a.m., that is only 7 hours of sleep if you do not wake up at all during the night. This is about the minimum amount of sleep for active and overall healthy adults. Story 17. Exercise at least midday to have enough time to cool down. Take cannabidiol before dinner, and avoid caffeine after 11 a.m. Also, avoid being around people who cause you stress. Story 18. I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, doing a physically tiring job. 930 hits, and I cannot keep my eyes open. Story 19. I usually do, but I cannot get to sleep tonight. I have prioritized sleep for my health and stick to a schedule for the most part. I usually start dimming lights around 8:30 or 9 p.m. I am usually in bed by 10 p.m. and asleep by 10:30 p.m. Story 20. I ironically do not get tired until 1:30 a.m. or so. I almost always wake up naturally between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, which is not bad, I would say. Story 21. Take it easy and relax for an hour before bed. I found that gaming and then going straight to bed was part of my sleeping issues. Now I just dim the lights and watch television until I get sleepy. Story 22. I get up pretty early in the morning, between 5 and 6 a.m. I stop drinking anything caffeinated at 12 noon. I eat proper meals at the same times each day with limited snacks and no sugar in the evenings. I only lie in bed when I am ready to sleep. I do small things to relax around 8 p.m., like crocheting. I also fall asleep instantly when watching a movie or television in bed. So about 9:30 p.m., I lie down, put the television on, close my eyes, and just listen until I fall asleep, which takes between 5 and 30 minutes. The television is preset to turn off after 1 hour so it does not wake me up in the night with random noises. Story 23. I'm tired, man, and I get up way too early for work. My job is also very active, so again, I'm just tired. Story 24. Make sure that the room is cool and dark, with no computer, tablet, or smartphone 30 minutes before bed. I usually read a book for about 30 minutes. Story 25. If you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so you can eat breakfast and shower by 6 o'clock, allowing you to be at work by 7 o'clock, it is not difficult. It should not matter what time you go to bed or wake up as long as you get an adequate amount of sleep. The time on the clock is irrelevant. Story 26. I am a night shift worker, and on my days off, if I get up around 8 a.m., I am tired and in bed before midnight every time. Story 27. Wake up at 5 a.m. every day and seize the day as hard as I can. Tired as possible by 8 a.m., fast asleep by 9. Story 28. Besides everything already said, just wait. Getting older will help you. You will naturally sleep less and earlier. You might also practice swimming before 7 p.m., and you will be very tired. Story 29. I usually work until 11:30 p.m. at the earliest. Often long shifts without much more than a bathroom break or a couple of minutes to step outside and look around. At the latest, I work until 2 a.m. Loud music, lots of people, physical work, and I am the second or maybe third oldest person there at age 41. It is a popular downtown bar in case anyone asks. My point is that even then I manage to wake up at 7 a.m. for coffee and the gym sometimes, followed by a day of cleaning, getting things done, fishing, bike riding, or whatever, and then another night of work. Having said all that, I never get to sleep before 2 a.m. at best. Story 30. Waking up between 6 and 7 does the trick for me. I used to sleep late and wake up late as well. Ever since I started working and had to wake up early due to the travel distance, this has become my routine. Unfortunately, this also applies to the weekend. Story 31. You are getting this wrong. It is not about the time you go to bed. It is about the time you wake up. Set a regular alarm throughout the week, and naturally your body will shift to sleep 8 hours before. Story 32. I get up at 5 in the morning and I am asleep by 9 p.m. It just works better for me. Everything is better in the morning. Story 33. Wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. for a few days. Use your phone moderately. Do some heavy lifting or outdoor activities. You will start falling asleep after dinner in no time. Story 34. Before retiring, I was fed up with the time changes due to daylight saving time. So I decided not to change my internal clock. That meant during the summer, I would arrive at work at the same time as everyone else. In the winter, I would be arriving an hour earlier. I had to make sure to get a full 8 hours of sleep. I had to prepare by going to bed at 9 p.m. in the winter. It became a habit after I retired because I would start getting tired around that time. Of course, I could also sleep in and get up at 9 a.m. Story 35. Alarm goes off at 5:15 a.m. I get up and make coffee for my wife and me. I prepare a few things for my wife and our 4-year-old daughter so their morning is as easy as possible. I usually get out the door at 6 and head to the gym, arriving around 6:20. I work out until 7:35. Then I work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I come home and shower, which typically puts me at 5:45 p.m. Then I play with my daughter for the approximately 2 hours I have with her on weeknights before she has to go to bed. After that, I spend 30 minutes cleaning between 8 and 8:30 to avoid having a large amount of cleaning to do on the weekend. I have time for myself from 9:30 to 9:45, gaming or watching TV. By 10 p.m., I'm spent. I just don't have anything left. I miss being a night person as I love the night. But I need to work out so I don't suffer a heart attack at 50, and mornings cost me the least amount of time with my girls. So that's how it is, just running myself ragged like most everyone else. Story 36. Have a shower, go to bed, turn phone off, turn television off, lights off, and relax. Get up about 8 hours later, do it all again. And as always, ignore the voices telling you to harm the next-door neighbor for annoying you in 2018. Usual stuff. Story 37. I count to 420. Why 420? People fall asleep on average within 7 minutes. You need to close your eyes, though. If you open them during counting, you reset the counting cycle. Story 38. Get up at 4:30 a.m., work, go home, then spend 2 hours being productive, start drinking, and then you are out like a light. Story 39. I drive a semi-truck. I am awake by 2:45 a.m. and on the road from my rest stop by 3:30 a.m. I am in bed before most people are home from work. Story 40. Wake up early, simple as that. Once the sun is down, everything is pretty much the same. Trying to get to sleep before sunset requires actual effort. Story 41. Grow up. Set goals and attain them. I struggled with sleep for many years. The only thing that helped initially was reducing anxiety by actually attending to tasks instead of procrastinating. Once I was on an actual path in life and working toward real goals, it became a lot easier. Then I hit my mid-30s, and it started to get even easier. Then I had a child, and now most nights I struggle to stay awake past 8 p.m., partly from fatigue, but partly just to get some quiet time. Life is busy and tiring now, but I would never want to struggle through sleepless nights again. Story 42. Morning. Do light exercise. During the day, you can play some sports. Walk around 1 kilometer daily. In 10 minutes, you will feel asleep. Story 43. Over a decade ago, I set my alarm for 5:30. I generally get up at that time every day. I go to bed when I am tired, usually around 9 or 10. Story 44. Wake up early, go to work, go to the gym, completely drain yourself there, and you would want to go to sleep before 11. Story 45. For starters, I am 45, so I have a few years behind me now. Here goes. I have never needed much sleep. As a teenager and in my 20s, I would go to bed at 1 to 2 a.m. and get up at 6 for work or school. I did fine. As I hit my 30s, this did not really change, but I had more responsibility, so I would try to get in bed before midnight, which I only succeeded at occasionally. In my mid-30s, I started dating my now wife. She is in bed by 7 p.m. and usually asleep by 9 p.m., often earlier. We dated long distance for a while, but now we live together, and I like spending time with her, so I am also in bed early. Mostly, I read or watch something as she falls asleep, and I am lying down trying to sleep by 10 p.m. I never thought I could do this, but it works. The secret, I guess, is just finding a reason to go to bed. Sleep was never a good enough reason for me. She is. Later on, I bought an Apple Watch, and because I love statistics and data, I started doing my best to get a good night's sleep so I can improve my numbers. We wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, but I never feel like 8 hours of sleep does anything for me compared to the 4 to 5 hours I always got before. Story 46. School wired it in my brain. Sometimes I still pass the time, but what's important is just setting a schedule to sleep. Story 47. It is easier for some people than others. Differences in natural circadian rhythms are real. While discipline does help, it is not the only factor. Story 48. I do not have my own bed, so I always share it with my mother. If she sleeps, I sleep as well. That is how I maintain a healthy sleeping schedule. Story 49. Your body adjusts to your internal clock when you sleep at the same time every day. Try reading your e-reader and you will soon be in dreamland. This also means your body wakes you up at the same time every day, so take that into account. Have a morning routine ready and avoid reaching for your phone. Story 50. Have a baby. You will need to attend to the baby at 8 p.m., 10 p.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., and then wake up at 5 a.m. The baby will keep doing this for at least 18 months. You will be so tired during this whole ordeal that you will fall asleep the moment your head touches the pillow. The routine will become so ingrained that you will wake up at 5 a.m. every day automatically from then on. After that, you will wonder how people stay up past 10 p.m. Story 51. Wake up early. Do exhaustive activities during the day. Avoid activities that activate your brain before going to bed. I used to play Slay the Spire in bed, and then I would not fall asleep for 1 to 2 hours because my brain was activated. Story 52. You may have delayed sleep phase disorder, particularly common among those with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is easily treated with low-dose over-the-counter melatonin if delayed sleep phase disorder is the actual cause. Melatonin is otherwise not very useful. I could rarely get to sleep before 2 a.m. even with strong sedatives and regular habits, but 1 milligram of melatonin fixed it immediately. Edit. Also, I almost never stayed up after 2 a.m. Heather. 2 a.m. was just my bedtime. Story 53. I get up early for work, so I go to bed early. Before I started working in childcare, I worked shifts, so I used to stay up really late. However, all I did was start going to bed early, switching my phone and television off, and it eventually started working. All you need to do is try for a while and your body adjusts. Story 54. Routine and early starts. My day starts between 7 and 8 as I need to be at my desk by 9. At 5, I have dog walks, dinner, and a few hours of relaxation time. By 10 or 11, if I am not in bed winding down with tea, I know I am not getting 7 or more hours of sleep, and I will be grumpy and ineffective. I am a night owl, and early bedtimes do not come naturally, but after doing it for a few weeks and specifically getting up early, my body will tire me out by bedtime. Early bedtimes start with early wake times. Avoid late dinners, late caffeine and nicotine, and bright screens. Use a warm light bedside lamp and good low lighting in general at night. Avoid late doom scrolling. If you do, put an orange filter on your phone. Make sure to be exhausted from an early day. Story 55. Do not have caffeine 6 hours before you sleep. Set a time you want to go to bed and do not use your phone 1 or 2 hours before that time. Story 56. I wake up at 2 a.m. and go to bed at 7 p.m. I work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I feel more productive when I am not tired from work and less stressed when I wake up early. Being able to go to the gym when nobody is around is kind of peaceful. Story 57. There was a comedian who had a skit that went something like, read a book, 20 milligrams of melatonin per page. I can read all day normally, but lying down, I get about 5 pages in before my eyes get heavy. Story 58. I take medicine every evening, which makes me drowsy. It has been over a year since I started taking olanzapine, and it still never fails to make me fall asleep by 10 p.m. Story 59. Alcohol and a first-generation antihistamine. I am literally wide awake all night and into the next day if I do not. Story 60. People who stay up past 11 p.m. How do you do it? Personally, we get up at 5 a.m. At 9 p.m., we head to bed and wind down, talking about the day for about 30 minutes before going to sleep. I think the cool-down period is the key for us. The quality of sleep we get is significantly better than before we started this routine. Story 61. Get up at 4:30 a.m. and walk 30,000 steps a day while working 10 hours in a physical job. Sleep time is 9 p.m. Story 62. A warm shower before bed every night. Going to bed and waking up at the same time consistently. Story 63. Put the phone and other screens away, such as television and computer, and read some chapters in a book. This helps you fall asleep faster and have better sleep. Both are healthier. Story 64. Infant means if you want to lie in, you have to go to bed early. I went from a 2 a.m. average to last night being in bed at 10:30 p.m. If you do not, then you cannot cope. Story 65. Make sleep a routine. I put my phone away at 9:30 p.m. without negotiating and just close my eyes. That was difficult in the beginning, but now I usually do not take longer than 15 minutes to fall asleep. Being more physically active throughout the day through exercise makes you naturally more tired. I also use a blue light filter on my phone from 8 p.m. until the morning. Story 66. I get a lot of hate for it, but here is my method. I go to bed at around 8:30 to 9 o'clock. I roll over and close my eyes. The next thing I know, my alarm is going off. No struggle, no dreams, nothing. It works every time. Story 67. When you truly prioritize your body, your mind, and your well-being, nothing is difficult. All you need is willpower. Treat your body like a machine, and it will break down quickly, leading to paralysis, organ failure, and diabetes. Story 68. Consistency. Start getting ready for bed at about 10 p.m. and wake up around 8 a.m. every day. Your body will naturally start getting tired around that time and wake up more refreshed around 8 a.m. A consistent sleep schedule is important. Story 69. I'm in bed by 10 and usually asleep by midnight. I do this because I have to be awake by 7 to make breakfast in the morning for my child. If I did not sleep that early, I would be tired the next day. Story 70. I get up at 7 a.m., so naturally I fall asleep around 10 or 11 p.m. The earlier you get up and establish a routine, the earlier you fall asleep. I also smoke a little marijuana after dinner, which usually makes me tired. Story 71. I get up at 5:30 a.m., so it is not hard to fall asleep at 10 p.m. I usually doze off watching television around 9 p.m. Story 72. I get up at 4 a.m. to exercise and meditate. I work from 7 until 2:30. I am tired by 7 p.m. and in bed by 8 at the latest. Story 73. The question made me chuckle. Essentially, it's asking, how do you live a normal life? Well, wake up early, work, get some rest or engage in hobbies, sleep, and repeat. That is a normal life. Story 74. Chicken and the egg. Wake up earlier. You will not be able to sleep until you have been awake for 14 to 15 hours. Do the math. Story 75. Audiobooks. I force myself to just go lie down in a dark room, put on Audible, and use a warm eye mask to help relax. The trick I find is to get a book you are kind of interested in but not fully committed to. Sometimes I stay awake until 1 or 2 a.m. listening. Other times I'm out in about 15 minutes. The book is usually set to a 60-minute timer. Story 76. Waking up at 5:30, commuting 2.5 hours, and working 8 hours on a construction site. I can fall asleep anywhere, anytime in less than 15 minutes. Story 77. No caffeine after 2 p.m. Make your bed a place for sleeping and intimacy, not for movies, video games, or phone use. Practice screen discipline and turn off devices an hour before you want to sleep. Although not foolproof and not possible every night, and there may be other medical considerations, this is a healthy start. Story 78. I wake up at 5:30, walk to the gym, lift weights for about an hour, walk home, shower, and then walk to work. I work until lunchtime and spend my lunch break going for a walk. I work until the end of the day, then go for a run lasting 1 to 1.5 hours, ending back at my house. After showering and eating, I relax for an hour or two, then go to sleep by 9 p.m. Story 79. My simple yet effective daily routine. Wake up before 7 a.m. Morning workout. Heavy exercise right after waking up sets the tone for the day and keeps me energized. Dinner. Always done before 7 p.m. to help with digestion and give my body a break before sleep. Sleep. Lights out at 11 p.m. sharp. I sleep deeply and undisturbed. Story 80. I struggled with falling asleep for the last 15 years of my life, but now I have changed it and usually go to bed by 10 p.m. It is actually quite easy. Going to bed at the same time every day is very helpful. Other than that, you need physical and mental exhaustion. Physical exercise. Mental learn new things. Story 81. I get up at 6 a.m. I am at work by 7 a.m. I go to the gym by 3:30 p.m. Walk the dog by 5 p.m. Make tea at 6:30 p.m. and feel tired by 8:30 p.m. Story 82. To be honest, I used to work a 3-shift schedule for about 9 years. Now I fall asleep in about 5 minutes after I lie down, usually around 10 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. Story 83. 2 beers and melatonin will help regulate your sleep schedule. After 1 to 2 days of that, just take melatonin. Story 84. Occasionally, I get into a reading binge, and I can sleep easily because I have not been staring at a screen so much. However, any screen time after dinner means I am not sleeping before midnight at the earliest. Story 85. I used to be a total night owl, but once I started waking up early, everything changed. Now going to bed before 11 just feels normal. Story 86. No idea. I can be both physically and mentally exhausted and still take a long time to fall asleep. When I do, I am rarely able to get more than 6 hours. Story 87. Full-time job where I have to deal with people all day. Some nights, I am lucky if I can make it to 10 p.m., let alone 11 p.m. Story 88. I am used to waking up around 5:30 to 6 a.m., and by the end of the day, I cannot seem to keep my eyes open by 10:30 p.m. Story 89. I have to get up at 4 a.m. for work. I could probably function on 5 hours of sleep, but I would rather not if I do not have to. Story 90. Because my body is ready by 8:30. I am usually asleep by 10. I get up around 4 though. It is just my natural cycle. Story 91. I wake up between 6 and 7 in the morning, and I go for a run after work. Also, I do not nap during the day. Story 92. Medication. Even then, sometimes it does not work. I am not addicted to sleeping pills, by the way. My antidepressant has a sedative. Story 93. Alright, these comments make me realize how basic my life is. Other people here are doing some real adulting. Anyway, I'm simply a sleepy boy and can fall asleep almost anywhere at any time. Once my head touches the pillow on my bed, I'm out. On work days, I go to bed earlier, and on weekends, I tend to stay up late. The crazy thing is, with being able to sleep like that, if I get really tired in the afternoon and lay down to take a nap, I might not wake up until the middle of the night. Then I just go back to bed. However, there are downsides to being able to fall asleep so easily. Story 94. Wake up early and start preparations for my restaurant, so by the time I am home around 7 to 8 p.m., I am already shutting down. Story 95. Routine. Make sure your mind is calm in the evening. Reduce screen time. Reading helps a lot with that. Give your head time to wind down. For waking up early, place your alarm next to the window so you have to get up to turn it off. Then open the curtains so the light wakes you up and prevents you from going back to sleep. Starting the routine is hard, but once you are in, you are in. If you wake up early, your body will get tired in the evening, which really helps. Story 96. I think some people are naturally night owls. It may be a gene passed down from caveman days since someone had to stay up and keep watch while others slept. I am not sure if that is true since I do not know how that gene would pass through so many generations. I have always been a night owl and struggled with getting to sleep. Even as a child, it would take me 30 minutes to an hour to fall asleep. As an adult, my preferred time to fall asleep is about 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. When I try to fix my sleep schedule, I attempt to stay awake later and later, which causes me to stay awake through odd times of the day. Even when I return to a normal sleep schedule, I go back to night owl hours within about 2 weeks. I also feel much more active, productive, and mentally clear after 9 p.m. I attended an alternative high school that started classes at noon instead of 7 a.m., and I worked a job that started at 5 p.m. for the swing shift. I much prefer late hours, but it comes with its own struggles. Running errands is really difficult when businesses are open only while you sleep. Story 97. Personally, this would only be possible for me if I had an early start, waking up between 5 and 7 with an alarm. Also, living a full day by going out and doing some sports. Story 98. I am tired. Try staying up really late or the whole night the day before, and you will be sleeping by 9:30. Trust me. Story 99. Routine. I am not one of those people who can get by on 8 hours of sleep. My minimum is 10. Any less and I get headaches that make me feel as if I have been headbutted by a rhino. I start work at 6 a.m. every weekday. This dictates the time I go to bed, and I keep the same routine on weekends for convenience. It is nice and quiet at that time of the morning. For me, the only reason to stay up late is to watch television. I have a recorder. As others have noted, you get older. I am 46 now. When I was a teenager at university, I did 2-day benders without sleep, playing games and poker. Now I get sleepy as soon as the weather gets shown on the local news. Story 100. I started getting scheduled to come into work at 5 a.m. The rest just happened naturally. I cannot stay up past 10 p.m., but waking up at 8 a.m. feels like I slept in until noon. Story 101. The trick that worked for me was gradually moving my bedtime 15 minutes earlier each week. It took about 2 months, but now my body naturally starts winding down around 10:30 p.m. It is actually amazing how well our bodies adapt. Story 102. Look up sleep chronotypes. Maybe it is not the right time for you, but to answer the question, you get up early, work hard, work out, and limit caffeine after the morning. After a few days, it should be perfect. I love an 11 p.m. bedtime. Story 103. Not sure exactly. I used to have a lot of trouble sleeping, but these days I fall asleep much earlier. I am currently unemployed and not doing much during the day. I think moving to a suburb with less city noise helped. Story 104. I work overnight shifts 3 nights a week. On my first day off, I sleep for about 4 hours, get up, have dinner with the family, and by 9 p.m., I am ready to go back to sleep. Then I sleep roughly from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. on my 4 days off. Story 105. No phone in the bedroom. Set up an alarm on a clock or a smartwatch if you have one. Withdraw 1 minute every day, including weekends, until you reach 7 a.m. if you want to go to sleep at 11 p.m., allowing for 8 hours of sleep. Try this for a month to determine if you need more or less sleep time. You may need to adjust your bedtime or waking time. Do not force yourself. Everyone has a different internal clock. Stay within a 30-minute range as much as possible. If you feel tired before bedtime, go to sleep. If you feel refreshed after a good night's sleep, get up before the alarm. Consistency is key. It may take months to change habits like this. Story 106. I wake up between 2 and 4 a.m., or 4 a.m. if I sleep all the way until it is time to go to the gym. However, my restless legs and arms usually wake me up before then. I go to sleep at 8 p.m. to ensure I get some sleep. I have been doing this for years, so it is just how I live. Story 107. Routine is everything. Eat your dinner at the same time, reduce screen time before bed, do not drink too much coffee, and leave anything exciting or stressful for daytime. I have not slept later than 9 p.m. and never woke up after 5:30 a.m. for many years now. Story 108. Go to bed. I get up at 2 a.m., work from 3 until 12 or 1, go to the gym, mow the yard if needed, pick up the kids, fix dinner, make lunches, spend time with my wife and kids, and go to bed. By 8 p.m., I am very tired and fall asleep in seconds. Story 109. Well, being on Reddit is not doing you any favors. Set a wake-up alarm an hour earlier than you currently have. Force yourself to get up. Develop that habit. Lay down and wind down an hour before you want to be asleep. Eventually, your body will get tired when that time rolls around because we are creatures of habit. If your job is not physically demanding, do something after work to tire yourself out, such as working out, running, stretching, or anything similar. I recently tried melatonin that my girlfriend had because I was sick last week and could not sleep. I was surprised at how well it works. Take it about an hour before bed and you will fall asleep easily. Story 110. I wake up as early as 4 a.m. to commute and get my workout in. By the time 9:30 p.m. rolls around, I am ready for bed. Story 111. My alarm goes off at 5:50. It is hard to get up at 5:50, so I go to sleep early to make it easier. Story 112. Consistent routine and a dog who wakes up at 7 a.m. regardless. I got used to going to bed early when the option to sleep in was removed entirely. I went from sleeping at 12 to 1 a.m. and waking up at 9:30 to 10 a.m. to sleeping at 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. and waking up at 7 to 7:30 a.m. Story 113. I don't do it often, but when I do, it feels so good. Especially if I can sleep through the night, and if my infant daughter sleeps through the night, it is even better. Story 114. Chronic illness honestly works like a charm to help you sleep when just commuting to and from home knocks you out. It is better than any drugstore melatonin. Story 115. Having a consistent sleep cycle is important. My alarm goes off at 6:10 a.m., so I get tired around 9 to 10 p.m. and then go to bed quickly. I do not understand people who manage to stay awake much longer than that, truth be told. Story 116. Motherhood means waking up anywhere from 4:30 a.m. because dad is loud and the baby monitor in the kids' room, which is next to the kitchen, picks up everything, to 6:30 a.m. The kids wake up between 5 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. Both children are in preschool or school, so I need to get up to help them get ready. Plus, there are everyday tasks to complete. Story 117. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day to work 2 construction jobs. By the time I get home, shower, make dinner, and spend time with my wife, I physically cannot stay awake past 10 p.m. My body just kind of shuts down. Story 118. Get up very early and get sunlight as soon as possible. I avoid caffeine for the first 120 minutes to help prevent the afternoon slump. I do not consume caffeine past 3 p.m. I am a night owl by nature and can easily stay up late, but getting up very early forces my body into a healthier routine. I dislike that we need sleep. It is necessary, though. I detest the wasted time, but it is essential for waste and toxin purging and healing. I am unusual in this regard. I have no choice but to accept it. I have a confusing battle going on in my mind. Sleep is essential, but I also resent it. Story 119. Easy. Just be exhausted from kids, house, full-time job and spouse, and have your alarm clock set to 5 every day. You are welcome. Story 120. I take melatonin as an easy way to avoid making going to sleep a task. I can't afford bad sleep with my depression and epilepsy. I also work out and eat healthy. Story 121. I have made it a habit over the last few years to always be in bed by 9 o'clock. It was really a way to curb late-night snacking. Over time, my body adjusted to feeling tired at that time. It also helps that I get up really early every day to exercise. Story 122. I go to bed. It is easy. If I have to get up to work, I will not want to stay up late and not get enough rest. Story 123. Go camping in the woods where there is no cellular service. Stay camping for at least a week, preferably 3 weeks. You can leave the woods to buy more food, but do not sleep in town. Return to the woods. Your body will align its circadian rhythm with the sun. Problem solved. Also, avoid looking at screens after sunset. Story 124. Usually physically or mentally exhausted, but usually the latter. I am blessed to have the ability to fall asleep quickly whenever I want as long as I can get comfortable. Story 125. I get up at 5 in the morning for work. I need 8 hours of sleep, so I go to bed by 9 in the evening. On days off, our 3 dogs remind me it is time to get up. Story 126. Wake up early for a morning workout, then wind down with 15 to 30 minutes of reading before bed. It is a great routine that has improved my quality of life both mentally and physically. Story 127. Work from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. By the time 9 p.m. arrives, I would love to go to bed but usually do not until 10:30. Story 128. Start your wind down routine at 10 p.m. No phones, nothing too stimulating, just a book and relaxing thoughts. Story 129. My eyes act as a natural alarm. Feels very dry around 10:30, and all I think about then is sleep. Story 130. I work with special education high school students. I take a nap when I get home and still find time to sleep by 9 to 9:30. Story 131. Just work from 5:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. 6 days a week. I don't think I have been physically able to keep myself awake past 10 p.m. the entire time I have had this job. Story 132. I take mild opioids, a hay fever pill that causes drowsiness for me, eat something quite sweet so my blood sugar crashes after about 30 minutes, then play a playlist of very boring content on YouTube. Story 133. Honestly, I am 24 and struggle to stay awake past 8 or 9 p.m. I am usually in bed by 7:30, but I do have chronic fatigue, so I guess that explains it. However, I also have nights where I just cannot sleep, like tonight when it is nearly 11 p.m., and I am exhausted but cannot sleep. Story 134. Just force myself to wake up earlier, and later it will become a habit. That said, consistency matters as much, if not more, than the length of sleep. Story 135. I brush my teeth, then go on a walk at 8:30. I get back around 9:20, get into bed, and sleep. I avoid screens during and after my walk. The first few times took a while, but now I fall asleep within minutes of getting into bed. Story 136. I work from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. During the winter months, it is fairly easy. It is dark by 4 p.m., and no one is outside. Now that we are basically in summer where I live, I will use a sleep mask. Story 137. Just take one of the gummies meant for sleep. It does not matter what time of day it is. That will have you ready for bed in 30 minutes. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.